Welcome to Vision I Edu. In this session, as a part in our Excel course series, we are going to discuss about count and COUNTA functions. These are very important and basic functions in MS Excel. So let us see how to implement and what are the uses of these two functions. The count function is one of the basic function. The main use of the function count is it is used to count the cells which contains a number or numerical data. Means any type of number related data. The count function that can count the cells which contains the number that may be with decimal or without decimal also. And date also it's related to number, right? So and time. So these are all three types of data that can be calculated using the count function. And the COUNTA function that will skip the content that which cell contains the non-numerical data or empty data. So the count function cannot count other than numerical data, means text or empty or null values, but zeros are included, means it counts the zeros because the zero is a number, right? So it counts only number or number related data and it skips to count text related or non-numerical related data. Let us see the syntax. We can find this simply equals to count, and as a arguments we have to give the individual cell addresses or values, or we can give the range of cells. So this is the use of count. Let us see on an example. So if you have a data set of the students and their marks, in this data set, the students and marks of the students, if the student is absent, instead of the marks, they are indicated AB, means absent, the short form for the absent. And the student, those attended the examination, so their marks are given in that particular column. So in this example, the count function will count the cells which having the marks and it excludes the text cell, right? So in a above case, among the three students, two students have marks and one student have non-marks data. That's mean non-numerical data. So if you implement the count function on the marks column, you can find output as 2 because there are only 2 cells with the numerical data, and the count function skips the text field, means where the text AB is presented, that's not included in the counting of that range, right? So if you enter like this B2 to B4 as argument for the count function, so the output is 2 because 100 is a marks, 150 also marks. So these two are numerical type of data. So these two are included and it can count only 2, and it skips the AB because this is the text field. And this is the use of count function. And coming to the next one, it is a count A for all. You have to remember that A for all, count all. It's simply called as count all function. So it can count all the contents of this cell. The COUNTA function is used to count the cells which contains the numbers or non-number related data also. So non-number means nothing but the text. So it can count the numbers with decimal or without decimal and all the numerical type of data like date, time, etc. And it also counts the text including white spaces. White spaces means empty space. If you give a space, so the cell looks like empty, but it contains a space, a gap, right? So the type of space is simply called as white space. Without text, if you give only space, that's simply called as a white space. And the COUNTA function also counts the empty spaces, or simply called as white spaces. It can skip to count the cells having the null or empty values. Just you have to remember, white space is not null, right? But the white spaces included because the white space is also take some memory on the hard disk, right? If you give a space, means some memory is allocated to store the empty space, right? So that is not a null, right? Null means nothing is there. Even the space also not included in the null. Okay, so it ignores only the nulls or complete empty cells. So if one cell contains the white space, then also it included in the counting section, right? So the syntax of the count A is very simple and similar to the count function. So equals to count, and we have to add a letter A. So that combines the count A, and within the brackets we have to enter the arguments, like we can enter some text, numbers randomly using the comma format, or we can also specify the range of the data where the presented, that's mean where the numbers or text are presented, we can enter the cell range. Okay, so then it returns the output as per the data presented in that particular cells. If you see an example, so count A, on the same data what we used for the count function, if you apply the count A instead of count, so what output you will get? We will check it. In above example, the count A function will count under the marks column where the cells are having any type of data, including text. Any type of data means that may be number data or non-number data, whatever that. So including here A, B, absent, the text is given. So including the text, it counts all the values, all the cells which contain some data, right? In this case, it is used to find the total number of students in this particular data set, right? Of course, we can also apply the function on the name field, because the names also text, it can count the text, or we can apply it on the marks also, right? So count A, and the same function if you apply using the count A, B2 to B4, so then it returns the 3. In previous count function, we given the same range, but we got the output 2. But here we got the output as 3. Because what's the difference means, the count A included the text fields to count, whereas the count function that excluded the text data for count. So this is the difference. Let us see on MS Excel. Yeah, first thing, count function is already we discussed about. It is used to count the number of cells with the numbers. Count A, it is used to count number of cells with some data, right? So excluding, what it can exclude means count can exclude the text related data, and count A will exclude or skips the white space, null values. It can skip the null values. Let us see on the simple example. So here we have some data set 25, 12 and some empty A 32, 20, 0.2 and some text, and here I am going to add some date, right, and also some time, right? So date and time. So if I enter like this, so first we apply the count function on this particular range. What's the formula we have to use? Count and give a tab to apply it on the screen, and now we have to select the range of values, right? So from B10 to B20, I selected from B10 to B20 and close it. Now enter. So what's the output here? 7. Once apply the same range, apply on the same range, count A function. We apply the count A function on the same range, B10 to B20, You can find there 10. So why? Just observe here. So total how many cells we have selected? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. We have selected 11 cells. That means the range contains the 11 cells. Still the count A written the 10 cells, means the count A is saying that the only 10 cells contain some data. And count function, it returns only 7, means out of the 11 cells, only 7 cells contain some number related data. So means here it is empty. The B12 cell contains one empty null value. Suppose I am giving a space, empty space. This is called the white space. Just I given a space, right? And I press enter. See here, 11. Count A function is changed. The output of a count A is changed, but count function output not changed, right? So and here instead of the 15:30 AM, just I removing that AM. Now see, the count function is changed, right? So if any text related data is presented in the cell, then the count function will skip the particular contents of the cell to count, right? That is the difference. I think you understand this concept. So I'm going to explain on one more example. So here some data is presented, the student ID and student name. Student ID and student name, both student IDs and student names are presented in a single column, right? So here we have to identify the total number of students and how many rows with data. You may say which function is used for the first option and which function is used for the second option. So here we need to identify only students, total students. So here we have student ID and student name. These both two are belongs to one particular person, right? 101 is the student ID, Karan is the student name, right? So 101 and Karan, these two belongs to one particular person. So like that we have to identify the total number of students in that particular section. That's mean B3 to B13, right? So for that we need a count function, count, and give the range from B2 to B13 and close. See, 6 students data is there, right? 6 students are there, and in that particular range how many cells with data. So for that we have to use the count A function, right? So and give the same range. So then you can find the 12. See, so this is the main difference. Count function returns only 6, means it counted only the student IDs, and count A function returns the 12, means it included the student IDs and student names. So that is the main difference. And in another example, so we have some list, serial number, student name and student marks. So here we have to identify the total students, how many students are there. To find the total students, we need to take the function count A. And when you use the count A function, you can take the data from anywhere in the serial number or student name or student total marks. So I am selecting here student names, all are text fields, right? So just enter. So see how many students are there? 20. Means we have 20 students information we typed on the screen, right? And the total present. Okay, so how many students are presented for that exam or something? So present students. That means we have to exclude the absent students. Just I want to show only the students, those are presented for that particular examination. So for this, which field is suitable? Serial number contains the all numbers. So if you apply the count function on the serial number, you can get that all 20. And the count function is not suitable for text related data. Already we know that, but we cannot implement on the student names. But we can implement on the total marks. And just if you observe there, some students has different types of marks and some students has a text fields against their marks, because those students are absent for that examination, they are highlighted with the AB word. That's mean absent word. So that's enough to identify the present students of that particular exam. So just put a equals to and use the count function. Don't use the count A here. Use the count function and enter the marks range C3 to C22. Close it. See how many students are presented for that examination is clearly displaying on the screen. That's 16. Now if you want to find out the absent students, no need to write the function. Just take the 20 minus present students, that is 16. Means 4 students were absent for that examination. If you count the ABs, 1, 2, 3 and 4, right? So 4 students were absent. 16 students were present. So like that we can identify. This is the simple report. It was generated using the just 2 functions, count and COUNTA function. Total students, how many students are there and how many students are presented, how many students were absent for that exam, right? So like that we can implement it. And if you want to find out the percentage of present and percentage of absent, it's very simple. Take the presented students and divided by absent students, and that's 80%. And if the percentage symbol not appears automatically, you can click on this percentage mark, right? So under percent style field, or you can also use a control plus shift plus percentage symbol, right? So apply the same function here. 4 divided by 20, that's it. Percentage symbol already appeared. If it is not appeared, then you can click on this particular option or press the control plus shift plus percentage symbol. Right, this is the extra information, no problem. In this session, we discussed about how to count and how to count a range of values, and what is the difference between the count and count a, and when we use the count option and when we use the count a function, right? When we use the count function and when we use the count a function. So this is about today's session, and in coming sessions we will continue the next category of the count function, like countif, countifs and some other functions. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, share with your friends. Thank you.